I still can't believe it happened. One moment, I was walking into what was supposed to be a special night, an exclusive VIP event at a venue I'd poured my heart and soul into. The next, I was being grabbed by security and pushed toward the exit like I didn't belong there. My heart dropped. Shock, confusion, embarrassment all mixed into one awful knot inside me. I remember standing there, stunned, watching as the security guard's hand firmly but coldly guided me out. The whispers, the glances from other guests, some looked away quickly. Others stared, probably wondering why I was being thrown out. And honestly, so did I. What had I done wrong? I hadn't said a word. I hadn't caused a scene. All I wanted was to enjoy the night. My night. This wasn't just any event. This was a night full of bright lights, champagne glasses clinking, the kind of crowd that had names that echoed in the city. The kind of event where people like me weren't supposed to stand out, or so I thought. But as I stood there outside, watching the door close behind me, the truth started to sink in. Something wasn't right. Something bigger than this moment. And soon enough, everything would change in a way no one expected. But before I tell you what happened next, I want you to know that this isn't just about a security guard making a mistake. It's about what happens when people really see you, for who you are, or worse, what they think you are. I want you to understand who I am before I tell you what happened that night. Because that moment, being thrown out like a stranger, it wasn't just shocking, it was deeply personal. I grew up in a neighborhood where dreams often felt out of reach, a place where opportunities were limited, and people like me were expected to stay small, to stay quiet. From a young age I knew I wanted more, but the world wasn't always kind to a black girl with big dreams. I faced doors slammed in my face, not because I wasn't capable, but because of the color of my skin. I remember my first job working late hours, doing whatever it took to save money. I faced subtle biases, being followed in stores, overlooked for promotions, dismissed with a glance. It wasn't always obvious, but it was there, and it hurt. Sometimes I wondered if I would ever break free from those limits. Others tried to place on me, but I kept going. I studied hard, learned business, took risks. Slowly I built something of my own. A small event planning company. It wasn't easy. There were moments I wanted to give up, moments when I felt invisible. But every setback pushed me harder. Eventually, after years of saving and fighting, I bought this venue. This place meant everything to me. It was more than just a building. It was proof that my hard work paid off. A space where I could create, celebrate, and uplift others who looked like me. I dreamed of opening its doors to all kinds of people, breaking down barriers, changing the narrative. So imagine the sting when, that night, I was treated like I didn't belong here at all, like I was an outsider in my own home. The irony wasn't lost on me. It hurt deeper because I knew it wasn't about me. It was about the assumptions people make before they even know your story. This wasn't my first experience with discrimination, but it was one of the most painful, because this time it wasn't some distant place or unknown company. It was my venue, my vision, my life's work. And that night, those walls witnessed a moment I never expected to face. That night, I arrived early, full of excitement and pride. The venue was glowing, dressed up for the big event, the kind of night I had dreamed about for years. I could hear the soft hum of voices, laughter and music spilling out as I stepped closer to the entrance. This was my moment. I should have felt on top of the world, but from the moment I reached the front, something felt off. The event staff glanced at me. Some barely acknowledged my presence. The security guards looked me over, eyes sharp but cold. No warm welcome, no recognition. It was like I was just another face in the crowd, or worse, invisible. And that invisible feeling was the hardest part. After everything I'd worked for, after building this place from the ground up, being ignored stung. I kept my head high and walked with confidence, reminding myself that I belonged here. This was my venue. I had every right to be at this event, to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Still, the looks from the staff made me hesitate for just a second. Was I really going to be treated like an outsider in my own space? I tried to brush it off, telling myself maybe it was just a misunderstanding, maybe they were too busy to notice. But the tension grew inside me, like a quiet warning. When I approached the entrance where the security team was stationed, Their eyes flicked to my invitation, and then away. There was no smile, no nod of recognition, just a subtle, almost automatic gesture that said, "You don't belong here." I could feel my heart tighten. It was like they had made up their minds before I even said a word. I wanted to stay calm, to not let them see how much this hurt, but the unease was growing, twisting inside me. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to prove I was exactly where I was meant to be. What happened next changed everything. I walked up to the security guard, holding my invitation in my hand. I smiled politely, hoping to break the ice. "Good evening. I'm here for the VIP event." He glanced at the invitation quickly, then looked up at me with a cold, unreadable expression. "You can't come in," he said flatly. I blinked, stunned. "Excuse me? What do you mean? I have an invitation." He didn't explain. Instead he repeated firmly, "You're not allowed inside." Confusion crashed over me like a wave. My heart started racing, my mind spinning. "Why?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady but feeling it shake anyway. "You don't belong here," he said without hesitation. That sentence hit me harder than I expected. "I own this place," I said, my voice rising just a little, disbelief and anger bubbling up inside me. "I bought this venue. This is my property." His eyes didn't flicker. "No apology, no recognition. That doesn't matter. You have to leave." My cheeks burned with embarrassment. People were starting to notice, some watching in silence, others whispering. I felt exposed, like I was on display for all to see. I wanted to scream, to shout, but I held myself back, trying to be calm and collected. How could this be happening? How could I, standing right here, be treated like I was an intruder in my own space? "I'm asking you to step outside," the guard said again, voice low but firm. "Now." I took a step back, swallowing the lump in my throat. I looked around at the crowd, at the sharp suits and glamorous dresses. They didn't know me. They didn't know my story. All they saw was what they assumed. "I'm not going anywhere," I said quietly, but firmly. "I deserve to be here." The guard's expression hardened. Before I could say another word, 2 more security men appeared, and gently but firmly took hold of my arms. "Please cooperate," one of them said, his tone almost robotic, humiliated. I didn't resist. I knew arguing wouldn't help, but inside, a storm raged. The embarrassment, the disbelief, the anger, it all mixed into a painful knot. I could hear whispers now, some shocked, some judgmental. I could feel the weight of their eyes, like I was being judged not for who I was, but for the color of my skin and the clothes I wore. As they guided me toward the exit, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the glass door, a woman standing tall on the outside, but inside breaking. How did it come to this? I wondered. How could they not see me for who I really am? The cold night air hit me as I stepped outside, the door shut behind me, and suddenly the noise of the party felt miles away. I was alone, alone in a place I had worked so hard to build. In that moment, I realized this was about more than just security making a mistake. It was about prejudice, assumptions, the ugly truth that even success doesn't always protect you from being seen as less. I stood there, the city lights flickering around me, trying to hold on to my pride even as my heart shattered. Standing outside the venue, my chest felt tight, like I couldn't breathe. Shock washed over me first. How had this happened? I was still trying to wrap my head around the fact that I'd just been kicked out of my own event. Hurt followed quickly, deep and sharp. It wasn't just about being thrown out, it was about the message behind it. The look on those security guards' faces told me everything. I wasn't welcome. Not really. Disbelief stayed with me, twisting with frustration. Was this some terrible mistake? Couldn't they see the invitation in my hand? Did they even know who I was? Or had they made up their minds before they even looked? I've faced discrimination before too many times to count. But this time, it cut deeper, because it wasn't some random place. It was my space. My hard work, the symbol of every late night and sacrifice I'd made, and still, here I was, being pushed out like I was nothing. As I stood there, a few people passed by. Some paused, their faces showing surprise or confusion. One woman stopped, her eyes wide. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. I nodded, grateful for the kindness, even if it was small. A couple of others whispered among themselves, clearly shocked by what they'd just seen. I caught a few glances from strangers holding up their phones, capturing the moment. I didn't know if they were filming me, the security guards, or the whole scene, but I knew it wouldn't stay hidden for long. A close friend who had been inside rushed out, breathless. "I saw what happened," she said, anger flashing in her eyes. "That was wrong, completely wrong." Her words comforted me a little, but they also reminded me how much work still needed to be done. How many people still judged without knowing, assumed without asking. I stood there in the cool night, feeling a storm of emotions swirl inside me, but even in the hurt and anger, something was growing. A quiet fire that told me this story wasn't over, not by a long shot. After standing outside for a few minutes, feeling the cold air settle around me, something inside me shifted. I took a deep breath, and made a decision. I wasn't going to let this humiliation define me, not tonight, not ever. So I straightened my shoulders and walked back toward the entrance. This time I didn't try to slip past quietly or argue. No, I was going to make it clear who I was. I approached the front door again, holding my head high. The same security guard who had thrown me out looked up surprised to see me back. "I own this venue," I said firmly, locking eyes with him. "I'm not a guest, this is my property." There was a beat of silence, just long enough for the weight of my words to sink in. His expression faltered. The other staff nearby began to look toward me, confusion and shock spreading across their faces like wildfire. Whispers started circulating, growing louder. A manager quickly rushed over, eyes wide as he processed what was happening. "Wait, you own this place?" he asked, almost unable to believe it. "Yes," I said, "I've owned it for over a year. This event, it's being held here because of me." Suddenly the whole atmosphere shifted. The coldness from before was replaced by hurried apologies and flustered faces. Security officers who had been so stern just moments ago looked embarrassed, some avoiding eye contact. "I'm so sorry," one of the guards stammered. "There was a miscommunication. We didn't realize." "It doesn't matter what you didn't realize," I said quietly, but with steel in my voice. "What matters is that assumptions were made, about me, about who belongs here." The event staff began to usher me inside, their tone more respectful now. I caught the looks of guilt and surprise from some of the guests who had witnessed the scene. Some nodded quietly in acknowledgement, others looked down embarrassed. Inside, the manager pulled me aside. "We deeply regret this. It won't happen again. Please accept our sincerest apologies." I nodded, but inside I felt a mix of emotions, satisfaction that the truth was finally recognized, anger at how quickly people judged me without knowing who I was, and disappointment that it had come to this at all. I couldn't help but think about how many times prejudice blinds people to reality. How easy it is for someone to decide you don't belong simply based on appearance. I had worked so hard to build this venue, to create a space that welcomed everyone, and yet on this night, I was the one excluded. This experience was painful, but it also reminded me how important it is to keep pushing forward. To stand up, not just for myself, but for anyone who's been made to feel invisible or unwelcome. Because sometimes, the biggest surprises come not from what people say, but from what they fail to see. Once the initial shock wore off, I knew I had to say something. This moment wasn't just about me, it was bigger. It was about every person who's ever been overlooked, pushed aside, or judged unfairly. I asked the manager if I could address the guests and staff. When they agreed, I stepped onto the small stage set up in the venue's main hall, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I began, looking out at the crowd. "I want to take a moment to share something important. This venue, this space, is my dream brought to life. It represents years of hard work, sacrifice, and hope." I paused, letting that sink in. "But more than that," I continued, "this place is meant to be a home for everyone. A space where no one is judged by their skin color, background, or who they appear to be. Inclusivity isn't just a word for me, it's a promise. The room fell quiet, and I could feel eyes on me, some surprised, some curious, some thoughtful. That's why what happened earlier tonight was so painful. Being treated like I didn't belong here was a reminder of the very barriers I'm working to break down. I saw nods from some guests, and a few faces showing embarrassment. Moving forward, I said firmly, we will be retraining staff and security. Everyone who walks through these doors should be welcomed with respect and dignity. No one should ever feel invisible or unwelcome, especially not in their own space. I took a deep breath, feeling a swell of pride mixed with relief. This experience has reminded me of the strength we all carry inside us. The strength to stand up, to speak out, and to reclaim our power. I want anyone who's ever been hurt by discrimination to know this: you are seen, you are valued, and your voice matters. As I finished, applause filled the room. It wasn't just for me, it was for the message, for the hope, for the change we all want to see. Later, as I walked through my venue, I felt a sense of peace. Yes, the night had started with pain and humiliation, but it ended with something far greater: empowerment. I had reclaimed my dignity, my space, and my story. And I knew this was just the beginning. For anyone out there who has ever been pushed aside, ignored, or made to feel less, you are not alone. Keep fighting, keep dreaming, and one day your moment will come too. That night taught me so much about strength, about standing up for yourself, and about the quiet power of owning your truth. Even when the world tries to push you out, you have the right to take your place and be seen. I hope this story makes you think about how we treat others, how quick we are to judge before knowing the whole story. Sometimes, all it takes is a little kindness and an open heart to change everything. If this story touched you, please like this video and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or experiences. I want to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story like this. And please, share this video with friends and family. Together, we can raise awareness and remind each other that everyone deserves respect and dignity, no matter where they come from or what they look like. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of this community. Your support means everything. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.